Hello and good evening. Today, my name is Ahmad Fuad bin Sharuddin, 227289, and today we would like to show everyone my presentation regarding needle blight, which terrorizes conifers worldwide. Now, what actually is needle blight? So, as you see here, needle blight is a fungal disease that affects the needles of conifers. You could say it affects the needles of pine trees, for example. The scientific name for needle blight is oh, sorry, the pathogen, s- the pathogen scientific name for needle blight is Odystoma leptosporum, or a synonym scientific name for it would be Mycospirilla pinning. So what does needle blight usually target? They target they target conifers, of course. Particularly, they affect species of pine trees, including ponderosa pine, Pinus ponderosa, Scots pine, Pinus sylvestris, Austrian pine, and Austrian pine, Pinus nigra. So here is the pictures for the fungal pathogen itself, Dodystoma. Note the picture on the right. We have pictures C, D, E, which are supposed to be the fungi's conidia branching out and penetrating through the epidermal surface of the needles. And the picture on the left is supposed to be the fungi itself viewed through a microscope. Note the minuscule hairs branching, uh, coming off so that conidia spores will be produced to effect a new host. So, uh, I've s- I've shown you in before the slide before, what how do they actually transmit themselves to force their survival? They actually just transmit those spores, like I said before, called conidia spores, shown through this picture here. Now these spores, they are produced from those infected needles. I will show you the close-up of the needles later on. Now these spores are either spread by three ways, either through splashes of rain, moist wind, or infected needles that are stuck through equipment or clothing. Now these infected needles on clothing can sometimes attach themselves to new trees where that tree itself will be infected later on. Now, these are the three defining um, cycles, no, actually, three defining stages of the fungi itself. The first one is early, where it is still epiphytic and wants to penetrate the epidermal uh, surface of the needles. The second one is the mid stage, where they would like to colonize the mesophyll layer of the needles so that they can produce an early lesion on those needles to produce their fruiting bodies. And then the late stage is where they once produce a fruiting body that we will see later on. It causes lesions to the needles itself. So you already know how do they transmit themselves and what is the pathogen itself that causes this disease, you, the viewer, you might be wondering to yourself, how can you identify them? Well, you identify them through those needles itself. If said needle is having a brown, tan, yellow, or red coloration at the tip of the needle itself, then you have a case of needle blight. It also bonus point if you were to feel the needles and have experienced it having a watery texture. Other than that, you can also see if one tree is infected with needle blight, if the needles they drop from the tree prematurely. Also, you can also see some black pimple-like structures present on those leaves, which would be the fruiting body. I will show you an example right now. This is the fruiting bodies of the fungi that will be used to spread more conidia spores to wind, rain, or people or animals. In this case, this is the close-up for the needles. Again, tan coloration at the end, but at the base, still green. So we've already known um, those defining characteristics of the disease in your eyes, in front of your eyes. You wonder to yourself, how do you actually lose? What do you lose from this disease? So the first thing that you lose from this disease is that you lose more trees per plantation because the disease has a high mortality rate. Actually, no, the trees themselves have a high mortality rate because they will be severely affected by this disease if current measures are not established. I will explain that later on. Other than that, uh, those seedlings, the seedlings will be, you will lose more seedlings actually due to the disease's high rate of infectability. You've seen how easy it is to transmit either to accident or to natural weather. So there's no question that those seedlings will be privy to high infections, serious infections actually. So with those factors in mind, third one would be that you would lose high timber quality, which leads you to losing any financial gains. Since your income is based on how higher quality your tree is, the lower those quality will be, the lower those gains you will have. You will gain actually. It's because um, it's because of vice versa. You will have those quality uh, rising and your financial gains be increasing due to the high quality lumber being turned into products. With no lumber that is high quality, no products to be made. So there are ways you can do to um, prevent this disease from affecting the trees. So the first one is to just remove the weeds. Sometimes the plantation needs a little bit tidying up. So we would cut these weeds because some of them can become a secondary host to those to the pathogen itself before coming to the main tree itself. And other than that, you can avoid overhead watering of the trees because those water will make those needles of the pine tree more moist actually, and they will allow the fungi have an easy medium to traverse through the needles and penetrate the epidermal surface of the needles. Make sure you have a good circulation around trees, not too tight, between each other because it will create a humid environment between them. Now, with all two measures aside, you can also just apply fungicide to the trees during their growing season in order to protect those trees from infection. Now, I would like to thank you all for tuning in. This has been Ahmad Fuad bin Sharudin, 227289. And I would like to thank you all for listening and have a good day.